Hi everybody, this is Sally. So I'm going to do part 2 of working on these children's books and turning them into journals. In the last part, I just showed how to take the insides out of a children's book because they're put together a little bit differently. The stitching and the staples and everything are a little bit more difficult to take out. And so these are the 6 I had done. And actually there was another one too that I decided not to use because it just isn't the right size. But these are the ones I think I'm going to do, these 6. Okay, so this time I'm going to try to show you how I reinforce the spine. So on this one, it should be fairly simple. And this one here, I feel like it's going to need some reinforcement. There's a hole there. It's very thin here. So that one will probably need more work. This one has a nice spine. This one is pretty good, I think. Yeah, might need a little work. This one is pretty good. And this one is pretty good. And I did say that I had picked out pages from each of them that I wanted to save and use in the journal that I make. And also, so these are the pages I chose for this one. So I'm going to just work on these 2. This one and this one. So I take out the pages that I want to set aside to put in the actual finished journal, and I'm going to just put those away until later because we're just going to work on these 2 right now. Because this one is going to be an easy one, not too difficult. I've decided I don't want to cover this up, so what I'm going to do is make a new spine, and then I will be putting in a hidden spine on this one. And this one is going to need, before I can put a spine in, it's going to need Tyvek here. And I would definitely want to cover this whole thing because there's really nothing here I want to say. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is this one because the Tyvek is going to have to be painted. So I have this scrap here. And I'm going to go ahead and paint it. And I'm going to try to make a color that will pretty much match this cover. So I think by mixing these colors together, I should probably get pretty close. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this blue. And toning it down, I think, because there's some definitely green tones in there. So I'm going to add some of this green. And maybe, I don't know if I'm going to need to lighten it up or not, but I've got this in case I do. So I'm just going to use my silicone scraper tool to mix these colors together. And try to, and this is looking pretty good. It does look a little dark, so I'm going to add some of this, I think this is vanilla or something like that, kind of an off-white. Just lighten it up. It doesn't have to be exact, just close enough. And I'm pretty satisfied with that. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the piece of Tyvek. And I actually just bought this Tyvek. It came in a package. I got it at a yard sale. You can definitely use recycled post office envelopes. They work just great. I don't really have to go all the way to the edge because this piece is going to be a little bit bigger than I need. And the only area I'm concerned about is right there in the middle, especially where that hole is, and possibly some other spots in there that are really thin. So let me just cover this. Doesn't have to be great looking. Okay, so I think that that will be about the right size. Just going to scrape it thinner because I want it to dry fast. Just going to wipe that off with this. Just gonna kind of rub some of this paint off. Okay, pretty happy with that. Let me just clean my hands off a little bit. Actually, I ended up getting paint on me. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're done with that. Let's clean the table a little bit. Okay, looks good. All right, so we're going to set this one aside and let it dry. It shouldn't take too long, and we'll work on this one. So I have here a piece of file folder. It's just from one of those green hanging file folders. I have a lot of these. This was a leftover scrap, and I've already taken my scoreboard and made a line right there, which I think is going to be about the right width. I don't really want to go too much past, you know, you can see where the original piece of cardboard was right here. So I don't really want to go too much past that. I want it to fit in here and close easily. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it on the score line and score it, or crease it with my bone folder. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut here. I think maybe I'll go ahead and glue it first. So I'm using some tacky glue. It takes longer to dry, but it's stronger. I like how it works. This one actually was really, really thick, so I thinned it down just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna put plenty of glue on here. Make sure it oozes out all the way to the edge. And it did. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to put a few clips on here to kind of hold it and let it dry. Just set this aside for a while. Yeah, I think I might have thinned it down just a little too much, but it'll be fine. Let's do a little cleaning here. Okay. Okay, so now this has to dry. So I'm going to stop it there, and I'll just pick it up after these things have dried. Okay, so both of these pieces are dry now, and so I can go ahead and trim them down and get them to fit in here. So first, let's look at this one. You can see where I folded it over, and it's glued down very well now. So I'm going to cut it right on that line there. I don't know if you could see it or not. Let me just go over it with a pencil so you can kind of see it. Right here, that's where it's folded over. This side is doubled, so I'm going to trim off the rest of it. I'm just going to line it up here in my paper cutter. Looks pretty good. It's not going to be a real big spine, but that's okay. I think that these books, I'm just going to kind of keep them simple. Okay, let's see how that is. Now, I really don't want to go all the way to the edge. I think it does. Yeah, I want it to kind of be about there. About the same length as the yellow part of the book here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that where I would just kind of want to cut that end off. And I can just do that with the scissors. Not a big deal. Okay. Now then. Okay, that's great. And let's just see how it closes. Okay, it closes good. So, yep, that will be great. And then let's take a look at this piece here. So this one needs to be trimmed also. I'm just going to turn it over so I can make some marks to show where I want to cut it. This time I'm just going to use a regular pencil. So that's kind of the length I wanted. I don't want to go beyond the blue, or beyond this part. So I'm going to trim it right there and right there. And I think I'm going to use the paper cutter for that. Okay. And I think I'll just leave the width as it is, because I'm just going to be covering all this up anyway. Okay, so that's going to go there. And let's take a look at the other side. So here's where the hole was. Now you can see, look, the blue is showing through. I think that's going to be fine. And if there's any other really thin spots here on the sides, it'll take care of that too. Also, as you can see, this is really raggedy here and here. But I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to put fabric here. It's going to go right up to the edge and actually probably beyond it a little bit. Okay, so next thing I want to do is put this, glue this on. And I don't want to glue right on my table and make a mess. So usually what I do is I have these little pieces of cardboard that I do my gluing on. And I get one of these. Here's a brand new one. And I do my messy stuff on here. This is just covered with, this is cardboard covered with freezer paper. And I don't like, okay. So I'm going to put the glue on this side and spread it with my spreader. And I did thin it down a little bit. For this kind of light stuff, it works just fine and spreads a lot easier that way. Okay. That's good. Nice thing about tacky glue is it does, you know, you've got some time to, before it dries. You got a little wiggle room. Okay, so I did put some glue on here and I'm going to put a little bit more. I just want to get it in these cracks here and, you know, pretty much everywhere. And just spread it in there. Really get that fabric soaked with glue. Okay, that should do it. I like these because you don't have to wash your brush, you can just wipe it off. Okay, let's lay this on top. So I've got it cut just to the size I want. And I'm just kind of start smoothing it. I'm not going to rub too hard at first. I don't want all the glue to squeeze out at once, but I want it to get it in there. Really work it in. Just kind of gently, and then I'll get a little bit, as the glue starts to thicken, I can get a little bit more aggressive. Okay, look at that. So you can see here where the glue is oozing out. Those are the places where it was really, really thin. There and there. Just kind of wipe that up a little bit. Okay, so I really want to get it glued down good. Just kind of using the edge here, pressing right up against the bookboards. Okay, I think that's good. So one little last clean up here, and we'll set this aside to dry. So I thought we did a good job there patching that hole. Okay, that needs to dry. And Wipe off the glue. Okay, so back to this one. Now, before I even think about gluing this down, I want to make sure that this area is really clean. So usually what I do is I take a nice stiff paintbrush and I just kind of get in there and scrub it out a little bit. Also, I glued down these two pieces here. So that's all one piece now. Okay, so that looks good. Just going to go ahead and glue this down, and then what I'll probably do is put a thin strip of fabric here. Actually, I think that's what I'll do. I don't really want to do a hidden binding on this one. Okay, so I'm trying to decide whether to use this or my Fabri-Tac. So I think I'm going to, since it's such a small job, I think I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac for this. I'm just going to lay it in here. I could use Elmer's glue for this, but actually I think I thinned that glue down just a little bit too much, and I'm going to get another bottle out that's a little bit thicker to do book binding with. Okay, I'm just going to spread that a little bit out, and let's lay that in there. It does glue dry a lot faster this way too. Otherwise it does take quite a while to dry. And just to kind of not get my bone folder all messed up. So this is like, this had stickers on it. So on the side that had stickers, I saved these little pieces of like this kind of stuff, and I use them to kind of, when I'm working with stuff that's messy stuff like glue like this. This way I don't really get the glue all over my fingers and all over my bone folder. I want it to get it in there. Okay, so that's pretty good. I think I'm going to let that dry. And I'm going to pick out a piece of fabric to go right there. Just a narrow piece just to cover up this. And then I'll get right back to you.